Okay, well, we're here today talking about FNC Solutions. I'm Bill Rayburn, I'm here with Bob Dorsey. And are we going to have a factual discussion, or are we going to have some fun?
You never have too much fun, Bill.
Okay, so we're going to talk about our solutions and have fun. All right, so we have a platform for lenders, and that platform for lenders does lots of things. We have a CMS.
Collateral management system.
That's right, collateral management system, and we have our ports, appraisal port for appraisers, inspection port for BPO providers.
Right.
So what does that do? And why should a lender get that?
Well, there's several reasons. First of all, there are increasing number of regulatory requirements.
So if you want to get the regulators to go sit in the corner,
right.
Ideally.
Exactly.
And how will we do that?
Well, when there's several issues that the regulations address. One is appraiser independence. You want to have a systematic way of assigning deals to appraisers so that you're showing that there's no undue influence between the lender and the appraiser.
So the loan officer cannot select the appraiser, and the borrower cannot bring the appraiser in the institution.
Exactly.
And so what we do is we have a number of ways. One of those is next appraiser on the list,
Sure.
the highest ranked appraiser. Another way is a round robin sort of approach.
Sure.
And
Any
we
of those.
even enforce geographic competency. Can you
Exactly.
talk about that a second?
Sure. One of the issues that has been brought up recently a lot of times is that an appraiser will be assigned to do a job where they do not have geographic confidence, so they don't know the market that they're appraising in, and as a result, they give erroneous values.
It's sort of like restaurants. There are some people that know an area, so they know which restaurant to go to and where the best food is located, regardless of the signage or the price or anything, ratings. They know where the best food's located.
That would be
because
you.
they know the area. Exactly, that would be me.
And
so,
then there are those that just haven't a clue. That'd be me. I don't.
well, but appraisers are the same way. There are appraisers that know an area, and because they've done work there before, and we're able to tell an institution who has and who has not done work there. That's a big issue.
Right, and we track 60+ thousand appraisers, where they've done work in the past, what kind of work they've done, the quality of the work they've done.
Across all of our clients.
Exactly, and that helps in terms of assigning the appraiser. The appraisal then goes out to the appraiser on appraisal port. They pick it up there, they do their work and bring it back onto appraisal port. It comes back into the CMS system, and there we get all the data out of the appraisal, and we can run an extensive set of rules to check for compliance issues, fraud, risk issues on that appraisal. We check all the data in the appraisal against our national collateral database to make sure that they're not incorrectly indicating what the values are on those comparables. And then finally, if it's going to be sent to the GSEs, we check it for all the UAD requirements.
So let's back up just a second. What you're saying is we have like the Mayo Clinic examination of that appraisal. When it comes back from the appraiser, we pop it open. It's the lender's appraisal. They pay for
Exactly.
it. It's their data. We pop it open. We pull all of that data out on their behalf, and we check it for all these Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, all these compliance issues. We check it for the state appraisal license information. It has to conform to the uniform standards of professional appraisal practice. We check all of that.
All right.
And we check it also in terms of compliance for Fannie Mae's uniform appraisal data set requirements,
That's correct.
which is a big deal nowadays.
It is.
And then we check it for risk, even patterns of risk in the appraisal. This thing is good at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's good at 2 o'clock in the
24
afternoon.
hours a day.
It's the same. It's consistent. Gives you a baseline.
All right. And one of the issues is that a lot of lenders are receiving appraisals back from the investors now, because if the appraisal goes, or if the loan goes bad, they're looking for ways to get that loan back onto the originator.
Put it back.
Exactly. And so they use all sorts of various issues, regulatory requirements or other issues that are incorrect data in there, incomplete appraisal, and they use those as an excuse to put it back on the lender.
Because you, the bank, made a warranty and representation that this appraisal met either Fannie or Freddie guidelines or your relevant state law, which implements the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice.
Right.
And if the purchaser, the investor, can prove that you did not comply with the appropriate regulation, then you violated your warrants and reps, and you've got to buy that loan back at par.
Right, and we check for all of that so that you don't have to deal with that as being the cause for the putback.
Let's talk about automated underwriting, because we score the appraisal as well.
Right.
And let's talk about that and how that drives efficiency on the bank side.
Well, particularly large lenders are very concerned with the amount of time it takes to review those appraisals.
Well, small lenders too, because they're trying to grow their book.
Sure, yeah, it's often it's not as much time pressure on the small lenders, but it could be. I mean, it could be in terms of manpower. But what we do is that once we have run all those rules and identified any issues that there are, we also score the appraisal. And that score is like a confidence measure on the value that the appraisal has provided. So
how good is it?
exactly. And so if it's a low score, then you need to spend some time looking at that. There are a bunch of problems.
Or send it back or get a new one, or
Exactly. If it's a high score, you can be fairly confident that there's no problems.
just hold your nose and away you go.
Intermediate ones, you need to look at a little bit, try and decide if it requires more or not. But that's how that's typically used.
And that is very beneficial, because it allows the compliance and risk people at an institution to do more things. They can process more deals with the same number of people,
Right.
become more efficient, and do other things.
You know, and the other thing that's going on right now, we've seen this with a lot of big correspondent lenders who are buying deals from a lot of correspondent banks. Historically, they've not really looked at that very much.
They just
But-
took what the originating lender said, and they accepted that because they figured they could always put it back.
Exactly, but increasingly now they're becoming concerned about that. And so they're starting to run a lot of these rules on our systems to check on these small lenders that are sending the, or even medium regional lenders that are sending this in. And increasingly they're going to start putting those things back before they ever buy the loan.
Well, that's because the larger lender is making warrants and reps downstream.
Exactly.
And they want to make sure that what they're buying is complying with their warrants and reps as well.
Right.
So it would behoove the smaller lender to check the appraisal right up front.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of checking it up front, let's shift gears just a moment and talk about taking care of customers in your local marketplace. We have clients that want to know if a deal is going to work right up front.
Right.
Because they take that application, they process the deal through, and come to find out, they get down the road and they get an appraisal, and they've already spent all this processing money and time with their people, and then the deal falls out, it blows up because of valuation issues.
Right. And we've had a lot of clients that are starting to use a tool we call ValueSite, which pulls the same comps and listing information that the appraiser is going to use to value that property.
Right.
So that the loan officer, right at the time of the application, can look at that and see if it's reasonable.
Some of them have been running AVMs, and there's a reason that you would want to use this ValueSite tool instead of an AVM. Why don't you talk about that just a little bit?
Well, models have several limitations. First, they're based upon a general average, but it may not be the best comps. It may be an average over a wide variety of different properties. And the second thing is that AVMs tend to lag the market.
Yeah, they come from public record data. Most
Right.
of the AVM data comes from public record.
Right, so it sort of tells you the way things were. It's not necessarily the way things are. And with the ValueSite tool, you can actually see what has actually closed, what the sales prices are in that area for similar types of properties. And we're also going to be including listing information, so you can see what other people are asking for.
We have the comps the appraiser's going to use, chances are.
Exactly.
And that's what people rely on. We stream that right up front to the loan officers. This is not an indication of value for lending purposes. This is
No.
not the appraisal. This is just a screen to see if the deal is going to work. We even allow the loan officer in an interactive way to ask the applicant, what do you think this is worth? And if their estimated value and the value indicated by the comparables is close, it's in the green.
Exactly.
If there's some disparity, it's in the yellow, and if there's a big disparity, it's in the red, and we pass all that to the processor.
Right, and then everybody in the front end of the process has some expectation about whether or not this is going to work or not.
So we let our yeses be yes throughout the process,
Right.
and if it's a no, we say no early.
Exactly, and or what the loan officers can often do if the value is significantly different than what the borrowers was thinking it was, they can talk to the borrower and say, can you know, it's unlikely that this is gonna make it that value, so can we reset your expectations and adjust it?
Or is there some reason why your house is different from these
Exactly,
comparables?
right.
And if that's the case, then they may have some
Yeah, maybe
unique
a good, I
thing.
think, sure, sure.
And that has really helped lenders with their pull-through rate. It has also helped for those of you that are engaging in hedging. It has really lowered hedging costs because now you're taking applications that have a much higher probability of closing. That is a big deal.
So you're ready to buy it?
I'm ready to buy.